Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'd like to call this meeting of the Planning Board to order. We're going to wait just a minute while we deal with the technical difficulty, I think. Okay, at this time, if you would please join me in standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, at this time, are there any adjustments or additions to our agenda? Anything anyone like to submit? Or anything from our town manager? Nope. Okay, you should have all received an electronic copy of our minutes from the February 16th meeting. If there are any changes or amendments or things you need to notate, if you would bring those to our attention now. And if there are none, then I would entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes do pass. Do we have any public comment tonight? Anything electronically?
Or have I?
Okay, all right, no public comment, moving right along. Okay, so our old business that we will be addressing tonight is just an update on the Making Mills River Comprehensive Plan that we have talked about numerous times. Really all that we need to do tonight is just find out from you guys if you had any additional feedback after having looked over that, listened to it, perhaps attended some of the meetings that were held. And then Daniel's going to give us some upcoming dates to remember.
So the quick update on the plan, we have the public comment period open right now. We hosted a virtual session, 2 virtual sessions 2 weeks ago, and had pretty good attendance. And we posted the plan to the website. We have received a few comments via email, mostly complimenting the process. No significant feedback on the plan itself. But again, we're keeping that comment period open until next Friday, and then we're hoping to consolidate all the feedback we've heard from everyone at all stages and polish the document, add some photos, make it look a little bit more attractive. It's been very kind of black and white and basic just for the policy language, but we're hoping to clean it up a little bit. And then it will go back to the steering committee at their first meeting in April. And the goal of that meeting is for them to recommend to the planning board, basically recommend to the planning board that it begin the review and approval process so they can see it one final time as a body. And then at that point, it will come back to you guys to go through the formal adoption process. And that can be as long or as quick as it really needs to be. There's no hard deadline on us getting this adopted, except for July of next year. In order to have zoning in a community, you have to have a comprehensive plan. Our goal is to get it wrapped up by the end of this fiscal year, which ends June 30th. So of course, during all of your meetings that you have about it and all of town council meetings, those are all open to the public, and public comment can certainly be provided during those meetings. So tonight really is just to give you that update and ask if you have any questions or if you are still unsure about something in the plan. Get us those questions, and if I don't have answers right now, we can certainly follow up with everyone and provide those. So I'll open the floor up with that.
So it seems as if I'm getting that most of you, we've talked about this quite a bit, and we're pretty satisfied with the lengthy hard work that's been put into that document. Okay, I think we're satisfied with that. All right, so we will look forward to getting that final document very soon. And with that, we will move on to our new business tonight. Tonight, the new business that we have before us and for which you also received electronic documents is a what we would call a pre-application conference for a special use permit application. Normally, this would go in a little bit different order. This kind of got out of order this time. Normally, we would have a pre-application conference first, and then the applicants would go to town council and submit the actual application. Those two steps got reversed this time, so the application has already been made. But tonight we are going to be looking at the pre-application conference. This is for a multifamily townhome development on Banner Farm Road. Per town code in Mills River MR 30, this type of development can only exist as a special use, hence the special use permit application process. The goal of tonight is to do what's called a sketch plan review, where we can look at what's presented, we can ask questions, give feedback, give recommendations. The planning board's job in this whole process is to simply make a recommendation to town council to either approve or deny this special use permit application. We are not expected to do that tonight, but we can do that tonight if we feel so led in either direction. Then what would eventually happen, because it is a special use permit application, after town council receives whatever recommendation we send to them, then they would be responsible to oversee an evidentiary hearing, which we've talked about a little bit at that point before they make their final decision. So, Daniel, is there anything you'd like to add to that quick synopsis before we jump in?
That's a great synopsis. The only thing I'll add is I heard some questions amongst the board, so I just want to make sure that we're all clear on the location of this property. So if you look on the screen, I'm going to switch back and forth between Google Maps and the county's GIS system, just to give us some context on this. So this property is right on the edge of town limits. The blue, oops, excuse me, that was the wrong one. So the blue area right here is town limits. So basically everything outside of it that is not blue is the unincorporated areas of Henderson County outside of town. For a little bit better reference, I'm going to drop a little pin right there, zoom out. Here's Mills River Brewery on Banner Farm. You continue going past the school on out, down and around past the creek. Then right, you start to come back up the hill. There's a 31 and a half or so acres of land that is the subject of this application. I just wanted to go over that quickly since I knew there were some questions about it. Madam Chair, you summarized it very well. I have comically large copies of the staff report. I accidentally put it on large paper, so if you do want to see that in on paper, I've got them available to you. The plan was submitted in your packet, and as far as summary goes, this is a multifamily development. The typical 30,000 square foot lot requirement doesn't apply in this instance because it is multifamily. The maximum density is 4 units per acre. Considering the size of this property, and if you remove the road rights of ways, they have their density could be up to 98.92 units or 99 units in total, and they're proposing 92 individual units. They've exceeded the open space requirements for the project. So really, as your chair mentioned, this is an opportunity for you to ask questions of the applicant, their design team, and for them to introduce a project to you all.
Could we possibly just ask whomever is here that's kind of representing the project just to kind of give us your overview of what you anticipate this development to be, who your targeted audience would be, what you think it would contribute to Mills River as a community. I know it says Moore and Son is the, is that the developer who? Gotcha. Yeah, if you don't mind, I'm not sure if that's turned on.
All right. Can I take my mask off?
Yes, when you're
All right.
over the microphone, you may.
My name's Devin Staley with Blue Ridge Engineering, and I'll be the civil engineer for the project. Rick and Brian are both here from Moore and Son Site Contractors, the developer and owner of the project. We have worked with Moore and Son for quite a while on this project, on this property, and they've really looked at several different options for development. We've discussed that with Daniel for quite some time. Initially, they were looking at single family, and given the existing streams and wetlands that are on the property and our desire to not impact those, we ended up with the proposed townhome project, which I think does lend itself a lot better to protect those. We're able to get the units in a little more dense of an area, but at the same time preserve a lot of the open space. And I think we're at around 23% built upon area, and we well exceed the open space requirements for the development. Proposing, of course, streets with sidewalk on one side. Some of the amenities that we have shown on the plan is dog park, an athletic field, and also some trails through the development. In regards to the target, who they're marketing toward, I can let Rick speak to that. One of the contacts we've already made is with MSD regarding sewer. And we did get positive feedback from them on serving the property with sewer. So obviously we're in preliminary stages with the plan and are seeking this approval from the town. And once we have that approval, we'll go forward with further design and sewer design being part of that. So I can answer any questions regarding the layout of the plan, I guess. And
Cheryl, I have some questions, of course. Of course, everybody here knows that I'm all in favor of some housing in Mills River. But I have some things, and you've pretty much answered some of them. Of course, I made a list, and I'm just going to go down it, and now I know where the exact location's at. So I was looking in the wrong place. And you are going to have a dog park.
correct.
That's the plan.
That's planned, yes.
Okay, and an athletic field.
Yes.
Okay. How about a playground? I assume these are going to be family units.
Yes, I can let Rick and Brian answer that, but I can't imagine that, a playground wouldn't be a part of the amenity.
Okay. And you said sidewalks. That was one of my things. You have sidewalks throughout, on one side, throughout the development.
Correct.
Okay. And the streets, I'll assume, will be the DOT standards.
Yes.
Now, one of my concerns is the amenities we talked about, or you mentioned, and we're talking about now. Will these be complete before leasing or selling these units? And I've seen so many of these type developments around the country have proposed amenities, but somehow they just never got finished once they got built and sold or leased or whatever the case might be.
Right. I'm not going to speak for them, but
Okay, well, anyway,
I can't
I'll be glad
imagine
to
that
hand
they
them a
wouldn't,
copy of
yes.
this.
I know that for them, having those amenities in place is a big
Mhm.
marketing tool when they have people come look at homes.
These will be duplex buildings, right?
Correct.
And so, are they going to be for sale or leased?
For sale.
It'd be for sale.
Yes.
Okay. Of course, I have a concern, and I know this is way down the road, but I assume the units that you will build would be included complete appliances and stuff.
Correct. Yes, they'll be complete, just like any home.
Okay. And do you have a projected price of these units yet?
Yeah, I would need to defer to them.
Just, if you don't mind, I'll start from scratch a little bit. Maybe it'll answer some of your questions too as we go. I'm a life resident of Mills River. I want to see it preserved in a nice rural community, farm setting. So our architectural plan for these units is to try to fit into the scheme of the way Mills River is. They're going to be 2 units per building, and we're going to put the garages to make them look like they're houses.
Yeah.
They'll be together in the middle. The garages will be
Mhm.
where you drive into each garage. So it'll look like more of a house than it will.
That's what I'd visualize, because I've seen some of those and they look
Right.
good.
We
Yeah.
don't want an apartment building look.
Yeah.
We're trying to get away from that to make it look, it's
Yeah.
something that'll fit in with the rural community. And the outside scheme will be all what they call board and bat. It'll be board, and then it'll have slats in it to give it that farm style look on each one of them out of, it's a composite fiber cement board that will go on the houses. There will be no vinyl siding on none of them. We'll have some rock that'll kind of give it the arts and craft style look too, to incorporate with it. And the biggest thing is we know the need of bringing all, I guess, the industrial buildings that we're getting in the town of Mills River, with the breweries and everything else, there's a need for workforce housing. And
Absolutely.
that's something we're trying to fit into that price range with today's market of somewhere between $325 and $375, that somebody working at, I'm just saying Sierra Nevada, and then you have a school teacher, that both of them's combined income with today's interest rates can afford those type of houses. And so we're trying to, be the most economical way for the use of the land to maximize where we can get that product of workforce housing.
Now, since these are duplex buildings and you're going to sell them,
Yes, sir. They'll all be sold. And what happens after the fact, we will live in a certain percentage of them that can be that the owner could lease back out.
okay, so that was my question.
Yes.
One owner will own both sides, but he can
No,
lease.
there'll be different owners for both sides, or one person, you could come and buy
Okay.
both of them, but there'll be a
So
maximum.
it's kind of like a condo without the stairs, huh?
Correct.
But that brings up another thought to my mind. If it's a condo, are you going to have an on-site manager or a homeowners association or
There'll
what?
be a homeowners association, yes.
Okay. I think you pretty much answered my questions.
Are the buildings to be 1 or 2 story?
Some of them will be story and a half.
Rick, project manager, he says something, he sort of says, okay, MSD is willing to provide for it. That's not a correct statement, is it?
I'm sorry now.
I said,
we had a conversation with MSD and they were favorable, but obviously they've not given us any approval. We've not made a formal submittal. So we've just had preliminary conversations about the possibility of serving this parcel.
Yeah, they have not said for sure that we got it, no. But that will be the lifeline of the project. If we don't get it, then the project won't go. So
So-
we're kind of, we've talked to Daniel a little bit in the previous meeting, and we're hoping for the support. If y'all support the project, that with y'all support, that we can encourage MSD about the need for workforce housing. And I think that was one of the key words that Devin used with MSD, and that kind of helped trigger the things that they were in favor of to try to help.
Okay, the other thing is water.
We have water on site right across the street on the project, so it will be city water,
Henderson.
Henderson County, yes, or
Hendersonville.
Hendersonville.
So that's a big expense to take sewer. Where have you got it tacked onto?
We'll have to come to Mills River School. And how many, I'll let Devin kind of give the detail. There'll be a certain percentage of it pumped, and then the rest will be gravity.
Right, there's, I think it's around 4,000 feet force main. And there may be a little bit of gravity sewer, maybe 300-400 feet. But once we get into design, we'll know that for sure. But since it's in a DOT right of way, it will have to be publicly owned. So it will have to become an MSD pump station and force main.
Okay, on that Manor Farm Road, is there enough room to put it on DOT right away?
Yes, it would be within the right of way limits, yes, along the shoulder.
Okay. The town council has run into this before, trying to go up Schoolhouse Road to a development over on Turnpike. And it was determined then that there wasn't a right of way. There wasn't enough room for a right of way. That doesn't say this can't happen. I don't know. You're going to have to negotiate with DOT. So back to water, is there enough water lines capacity to serve this project?
That'll be part of our overall design. There's, it's a water main. It's at least a 6-inch line. There's hydrants on it. So with this number of homes, that should not be an issue. We'll do the full analysis during design, but I've not really had a project that with this density, this number of units where that's been an issue.
I think Brian's been in contact with, he works a lot with the city of Hendersonville, so.
We looked at this project with the city, I guess it's almost been 2 years ago now. And we explained to them what we were going to do. At that time, it was going to be homes, which wouldn't be quite the volume of this right here. But even with the homes that we were going to do before, which is going to be about 35 or 38 homes before, it was way more than enough supply and pressure because it's a good sized transfer main that's out there. I think you probably know what it is. But.
Yeah. I farmed across the road.
Right.
And there's a little bitty pipe. And I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, they've got a main line right down through there that we'd be required to tie into across the road, bring it across, and then supply that subdivision for. So there should be ample supply of water for that there.
So one of the things, going back to the sewer, that's a big expense to tie to one project. We've got a big tract of land beside you there. I would encourage you to go talk to these people. Say, look, I think that's the reason it has never been developed is because it's the soil type, they need sewer.
Correct.
So, I don't think the town council will help you. I really don't. So, I know it's a big issue with this size development, so I encourage you to go forward because this property, it's best used for this type of development.
So just to clarify, you're talking about this sewer issue. My understanding was once the application was made to council that there should be a sewer plan submitted with that. Is that correct, Daniel?
Once it gets to council for the review of the special use permit, they'll need to at least have a letter basically saying that the MSD, for example, has capacity for the new development, which is like a letter of availability, which they could also get from the city for the water as well.
Okay, so obviously it's required to be city sewer. It's required to be public sewer. And I think we're all in agreement to run from Mills River Elementary. That's going to be quite a cost. So who are you expecting to, are the developer or owner? I'm a little confused as who the developer is, who the owner of the property is, and who's going to pay this cost, or who
Yeah,
that.
we are the developer and the owners, and we.
So
do have
you
part-
own
yes.
part of this
So we
property.
are paying for the project as far as the water and sewer, all that will be in our cost.
Okay, so there's not going to be any expectation on the town to pay for any
No,
of
we
that,
had-
or?
We had a conversation with Daniel about that, and he
Gotcha.
kind of X'd that out, so. you
Yeah, I was
know,
going to say I won't put my eggs in that
Yeah.
basket.
We were hoping, hoping maybe a little contribution, but we're willing to do it all on our own.
Yeah, Ingalls didn't get it, so I don't,
Sure.
Well, in light of that, though, what we would like, is what Rick was alluding to before, was if we could get your support
Yeah,
for the project, so that we could go back to MSD and say, hey, this is a viable project, this is gonna bring, workforce housing to the community. It's gonna be preservation of the Mills River, what it is, with the farmhouses, things like that, craftsman style homes, things like that. So what we were looking for was to get something from y'all, if this thing does go through, a little support from you back to MSD to help us get that. At this point.
I have one other quick question. You mentioned when I asked a price, around 300,000 or so. Is that for the complete building or per unit?
per unit.
So one bill
325 to 375.
per unit, not,
Yes. Now, the units that we're designing right now or will be designing are anywhere from 15 to 1,800 square feet for that.
if I bought one for 325,000 or whatever, I get one side
Yes, sir.
And your piece of property.
And your piece of property.
and the property, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And what is the size of that piece of property?
It's going to vary because, I guess maybe, Devin, if you can answer that.
Daniel's report, actually. It says,
Yeah, if you look on the
Point
map.
point
that I-
12, is that what it was? Yeah.
If you look at the map that I passed out earlier, each lot is numbered and it shows the corresponding acreage.
So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about what's
Yeah,
included. in
your
that.
ownership. Then the rest of it will belong to the community and HOA. It's common grounds.
So when you said that it is workforce housing, that you intend this to be workforce housing, such as your teachers and your firefighters and your law enforcement. Did you look at any market surveys, any studies that show that this is something that those people can afford? Is this the range of housing that these people are purchasing?
Yeah, based on salaries and then based on the interest rate as it is currently now, yes, they should be able to afford that together.
Do we have a projected HOA cost?
No, sir, we have not totaled all that until we get all the numbers in.
Okay, so I'm going to go in a different direction now because it's my background. So you're looking at the finish of this project, you're looking at 92 units, correct? 92 units.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. Okay, so 92 units parking for 2 vehicles. So at the height, we could expect 184 more vehicles on our road, which that road is in really poor shape. If you drive that a lot, which I do, we can't count on DOT, as we've seen very clearly, to do any road improvements. And I kind of think that we're getting the cart in front of the horse. If we're putting that kind of traffic on that road, it's going to be potentially disastrous. And Jeff, you may be able to speak to that a little bit more. I don't know if you have an opinion as a traffic engineer.
As a traffic engineer looking at it, my first step would be to do a trip generation exercise, and 92 units, somewhere around 7 trips per day per unit. So what's that, 630 so trips per day. Peak hours about 10% of that. So in the morning, you'd see maybe around 60 additional vehicles. This would not trigger a traffic impact study from NCDOT, but looking at our ordinance, it is a major subdivision, correct? So one will have to be done. And because we require the traffic impact study, now the traffic impact study will look at major intersections, in my opinion, in the area. But that low of a volume may not trigger any improvements there. It might trigger turn lanes in and out. That's something that would be looked at, possibly a right turn in. I don't know that you'd have a left turn in because all the traffic is going to be coming this way. But that's the traffic engineer will decide all that. One thing I'm sure y'all are aware of the timelines of the traffic impact study. Me too. I live and die by those. DOT will take about 2.5 months to approve it. Once we require it, it falls into the jurisdiction of NCDOT, and then they will conduct a review of it once it's completed. And so if that's a requirement of the application to council for final approval, it's going to take a while. I'm sure y'all know all of that. So, but as far as my concern on Banner Farm Road, with this additional traffic, we can look at, another straw on the camel's back, et cetera, and soon it's full. But I can't imagine this would require any big improvements. But it'll be, 92 more families telling the DOT to get out here and patch our roads, right? But, seriously, DOT does take care of the roads. I mean, that's what they're there for. And they will be required to give a driveway permit. So there will be some traffic review as well as that. So anyway, any questions? Does that help?
Yeah, I always welcome your expertise in that area.
Oh, you're very kind.
So I also spoke with Mr. Chad Alton, the principal of Mills River Elementary, on Monday, and just asked him about the capacity of the school itself, because obviously if this is a workforce housing, we can anticipate multiple children going to Mills River Elementary from this unit. And what he told me is that Mills River Elementary is currently at capacity. In order to maintain the ratios required by the state, particularly in grades K through 3, they're at capacity. So to put any more children in there will mean additional modular units, because they're, they've done a capital investment at Eddyville Elementary. They have a capital investment now at Hendersonville High School. There's not going to be in the near future any more building going on. So that's going to be modular units. He also told me that depending on what happens with Taproot Dairy, if there's a large development there and those kids are sent to Glen Marlow, Marlowe kids are then also probably likely going to be shifted to Mills River Elementary. So you've got a huge strain now on our elementary school. And I don't know the answer to that. And, you know, you may say, well, that's not our problem. That's the Henderson County Public Schools problem, but it is our problem because it's our kids. And so we have to have a vision for the future. What does this do for our kids? And when you can look at it many different ways. So I'm just, you know, just throwing that information out there. Does anybody else have any questions, comments, anything you thought about? Do you expect this to be done in phases, or is it all going to be all at once?
I'm going to submit it all at once, and no, it won't be phased.
Okay, so once you start building, you're going to get those 92 units done as quickly as possible. Any idea of a timeline? I know you can't predict weather and
Can't predict
material
sales
supplies and things like that.
economy,
I
but
get
yeah,
it. But
So, I mean, roughly it'll probably be I'm going to say hopefully timeline, Ron will probably shoot me, but 24 months to no more than 30 months. Yeah, 24 to 30 months.
Question, so the build out, are you going to start front to back or you don't know?
Yes, we'll start at the front and work our way in.
So you know, we see this in up here on Turnpike. Okay, they started front to back.
Mhm.
And they got all this construction
Mhm.
trucks eating at their driveway. So think about that a little bit, whether that's true.
looking at the plat and the location, we talked about the dog park and the athletic field. Are there other, I can't see on the map very well. Are there other residential areas close by? We've had, from some of our other developments that have been approved, we've had complaints of things like dog parks and playgrounds being close to other neighbors who don't want to listen to that. So I'm
Yeah,
just wondering
There's
if it's,
nothing on either side of that
okay.
currently.
And I think I have one final question. The girl with all the questions. In trying to read this plat that you submitted to us, where it says the total proposed BUA is 7.17 acres, is that the acreage that will actually be built upon?
Yes, that is the total of the streets, sidewalks, driveways, and houses.
And the houses. Okay, so lots of open space, I get that. But you're putting the 92 units on just over 7 acres, correct?
Correct. The physical units, yes.
Right,
And
that's
the
what I
streets,
mean.
Yes, yes.
Just, yeah, okay.
One other quick question, since I don't know, is natural gas available out there? Or you propose building this as a total electric?
Well, if we can get natural gas, which the gas companies cooperated with us on our other subdivisions that we're doing across the county, they'll probably bring it to us for that many units. We're hoping.
So it could possibly be available.
Yes.
Okay.
Usually when you get that kind of amount in there, they'll do what they gotta do to get it to you typically. They want that.
Because we'll guarantee them so many, I guess what to call units or drops, like a gas stove, furnace, water heater. We'll guarantee them at least 3 or 4 drops to get them to bring it.
Any other comments or questions?
I guess I'm concerned from the tone that I'm hearing that possibly more deliberation is in order. I'm not sure. I'm just saying from the tone I'm hearing, that's a concern. I don't know whether anybody else echoes that concern or not.
And generally what will happen at this point is we've asked some questions, we've had some discussion. At our next meeting, they will come back to us with, I'm not sure that they can give us more information, but the point, one of the points is for there to be open dialogue so that they could address our concerns and bring back some answers to those concerns. And then at the next meeting, we would need to either recommend to town council to accept this proposal or reject it.
And that's a really good point of clarification. This is sort of a procedural step in this process. So if you don't have any more questions, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to have questions, nor do you have to have concerns. But the point is for all of us to be in the room together and for them to hear from you and for you to hear from them what the expectations are, just so that we're all on the same page. So when we do come back at your next meeting, you're comfortable making a recommendation one way or the other. So I know it's kind of awkward, but you don't have to think about making a decision tonight. It's really more of a procedural step to make sure we're all on the same page.
Okay, so with that note, are there any additional discussion or questions that you have for these gentlemen while they're here? Okay.
I suggest we just move on to the next page.
Meaning,
Next meeting.
okay, so
When they come back with our concerns or any changes that they may want to make. So as I understand it, this is not a final plan for us to present to council.
you are correct. I just wanted to give everyone an opportunity to ask any questions that they had while we have these gentlemen here. Okay, so I think everyone is done what they need to do. So we will close up with the new business and we will move on the agenda to additional items for tonight. I do have one additional item that I would like to bring up. Our first planning board meeting scheduled for April is April the 6th. That is the Tuesday after Easter. It is also spring break for our public school system and a lot of other entities. So I am proposing that we forgo the April 6th meeting if no one is opposed to that.
Sounds good to me unless we have some emergency we need to meet. Why not?
That's why I like you, Jim.
Currently, there are no applications pending that you would be delaying. In the comp plan, we had originally planned to bring to you on the 6th, but just giving our timing of where we are in the process, we're scheduling to come back to you at your second meeting. So you're not going to delay anything necessarily by doing that.
Does that require a motion to change?
If you just want to cancel
Yes.
it, yeah.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so unanimously, we are canceling the April 6th meeting. Daniel, do we have any additional items?
Not for the agenda. If I could have just a minute to give some general updates. I just want to relay to you what you may or, thank you, gentlemen, may or may not have seen recently. The town has, just in the last really 6 weeks or so, the town was approved for a riverbank restoration program a couple of years ago now, but the state, for whatever reason, took quite a while to get the contract ironed out. And we were just able to recently execute that back at the beginning of February. So that's essentially the entire reach of the Mills River that is on the town's property will be cleaned up and repaired and replanted with native vegetation. Last week, we got notice of an award from the state via the Volkswagen settlement program to install 2 electric vehicle charging stations right out here in the parking lot. So that will be moving pretty soon. And the town also recently secured a grant from the North Carolina DOT for a bicycle and pedestrian plan. That is managed through the state. We applied for the grant. It's $50,000 total. The town's match is $5,000, and the Blue Ridge Bicycle Club is covering half of that. So the town's cash investment is $2,500. We also, I think on Friday, received word that we got another round of bicycle helmets from the state DOT to give away at different events. This is a program we've been doing for the last several years, and it's very successful. Typically, Party in the Park is the big time to give those out, but we'll wait and see if that's going to be an actual event or virtual or some version thereof. The comp plan, I mentioned that the Parks and Recreation Master Plan is going on right now. If you're available Friday and have questions, we're going to be in this room from 10 to 2 with the maps that the designers have come up with. Just drop in anytime between 10 and 2. Nicole will be here to help answer any questions you might have. And that is it that I believe at the moment.
Daniel, I have, you brought it up, and I've had several people ask me, and I said, I don't know. On the last council meeting, I was having trouble hearing, for some reason. It sounded like everybody speaking had an echo. I just couldn't hear it. The only time I could understand good was when Nicole was talking. So I don't know if it was on my end or this end, but I bring that up because I didn't quite understand how this charging stations are working. Who's paying for that, and how's it going to work once they're installed? Are they, you put your credit card in, or is it free, or what?
Let me answer that in two parts. The first part is it wasn't just on your end, Jim. That was a technical challenge that we were having on our end with the computer and the input system. So I sent Martha Wilson a message while we were speaking tonight to make sure that she could hear, but basically we didn't use the correct input on the computer. It's as simple as that. That was my mistake. On the charging stations, the town is actually committed to building those. The project estimate is $56,000 approximately. The budget's actually $60,000 to account for any potential contingencies we might run into. So the town will basically front the cost of that project. And then the rebates that the town has secured from the Volkswagen settlement is $20,000. So the total final investment on the town's behalf will be in the neighborhood of $36,000. Because they're funded through the Volkswagen settlement through the state of North Carolina, they are publicly accessible and free to the public. There's no charge for them. And right now, depending upon the usage, the maintenance building will be tied in with that circuit. And that building is producing more energy than it's using with the solar panels on top. So they will be drawing from that building to power the chargers whenever folks are charging. And so it'll be 2 individual charging stations, kind of like little gas pumps. And each charger will have 2 ports on it. So you can charge 4 cars at one time at the maximum.
That raises an interesting question for me. Do we know statistics about visitation from, I mean, I don't know how we would know, but visitation of electric cars to our facility?
We have no records about that right now. We don't have any counts.
So we're just taking a hopeful green guess, for lack of a better way to put it.
Yeah, well, I think that the trend is more electric vehicles being out in the market, and people do come here for extended periods of time throughout the day. And the big benefit, I think, to the community is part of the requirements for these chargers is that they're networked, meaning they're available online. So anyone with an electric vehicle will be able to pull up their app to look for chargers, and they will see Mills River Park on their list of destinations. So I do think longer term, as more and more vehicles become available on the market, that it will actually be a draw to Mills River to people who routinely might just pass through, but instead can come over for a half hour or so and top off their tanks.
And
Yes, sir.
what you got about the 3 levels of the charging station?
Okay, so that's a good question. There's 3 different levels of chargers. The level 1 chargers are basically the chargers that you would have at your home and would take approximately 8 hours to charge your run-of-the-mill sedan. Level 2 chargers is the next level up from that, and I believe it's a 240, I believe. So you can charge your everyday run-of-the-mill car in a couple hours, like maybe 2 hours. The next level up from that are what's called DC fast chargers. And not every vehicle can accept the DC fast charger, but Tesla says it'll charge their vehicle in a half hour, which is pretty incredible if you think about the amount of power being sucked through that thing. We went with level 2s because Teslas can use a level 2, they just don't charge as quickly, but it's the most universally accepted charger on the market today. And it also comes with the port is a fairly universal design. If the manufacturer sends a vehicle out that does not have that design, they'll send an adapter with it, and you just plug it into the port on the machine and plug it into your car, and get charged up that way. That answer your question, Roger? Okay.
Okay,
And
any
just one-
additional items? Go ahead.
Just
sorry.
one final thought. I think some recognition for council's leadership in this is really important, because they have supported the funding requests for these different types of projects over the last year. I mean, the solar panels, it was kind of, I don't know, there wasn't a big grand reveal of them, but that was a really important investment for the community. That offsets about 70% of the electricity that we use as an organization. That includes the lights in the parking lot, the picnic shelter and bathrooms, this building. And then with the charging stations, it's just I think it's a big step in the right direction to show that Mills River's being progressive and trying to be leader in things. And I mentioned the maintenance building, but its energy is completely offset by the solar panel on the roof of that building. So we're paying the minimum, it's like $24 a month for the meter fee for that building, which we're very happy with. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, anything else from anyone else? So I'm waiting on the magic motion.
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor? Any opposed? That's what I thought. Y'all have a great evening.